to. I have Colin and Daisy's down to.
I know. So Kelsey's was the Siemens Cup victory.
Yep.
Daisy's was the wedding, right? So just
Daisy,
a day.
yeah. Daisy's was the wedding. Yeah, and then Colin's was the Giggle Club. With the boys are just boys roughhousing.
That was amazing when they show when Gary returns from his night with Ashley and he walks back in the room and like Marcus and Colin are just like cracking up.
Yep.
That was great. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Colin also brings up the fact that, he's like, hey, let's have a toast here, guys. This is a team that can really work together and it's worth celebrating. So, good on, I think this crew really worked. I mean, at the end of the day, I didn't see like a weak link. Obviously we had, Gabriella had to leave at some point and Tom got fired, but the crew that they have right now, I think is really strong. Yeah. It's kind of sad. I feel like they just got everything going.
I know. In a common theme like throughout this night, and then Daisy mentioned the cab ride over as well, that like Gary, Colin, and Daisy like this crew a lot more than last season's crew.
Yeah.
And well, I thought last season's crew was amazing TV, but like, yeah, there's a lot of Cindy and Allie fighting. And John Luke didn't really like, he hung out with Danny and that was it.
Yeah.
Natasha wasn't friends with anyone besides Danny. So yeah, like there's a full team.
Yeah. And like the drama was a little different. And like, maybe I think of last season of like so nostalgic. Like if I were to have to like rank them, I don't know.
Maybe we'll do that next week. We'll kind of. It's tough because sometimes I don't know. I'm still kind of deciding that between Sailing Yacht season 2 and Sailing Yacht season 3. What I like more, but maybe we'll stew on it, and next week we can kind of go over that.
Yeah, I might have to rewatch season 2 again, just to like refresh to make sure I'm giving the right answer.
Yeah.
So Sean, cab ride back, obviously water fight. That's hilarious. And then we start a party on the boat. So listen, man, this is like, they're using the big champagne. Colin's bringing out the guitar. Everybody's singing. Ashley's making grilled cheese. I thought this was like one of the best parties of the season.
Big fire hazard with that grilled cheese, but no one, hey, nothing happened. She's so gross when she makes food.
Dude, like her eyes just glaze over. Like she is just not there. I couldn't decide if she was making like the best grilled cheese or the worst grilled cheese. Because there's like, she put a lot of butter on it and she put a ton of cheese on it. I'm like, that's most of the ingredients of grilled cheese. I know it's not good.
I was gonna say I don't think she melted the cheese properly.
No,
it's not uniform. It didn't look that way.
Yeah. No,
a lot of the butter ended up in her boob too. So
that's fair. She licked it off. No big deal. But Sean, did you think that at some point in the night, Gary and Daisy were gonna hook up?
Well, they were real close, and Daisy. There was a moment when Daisy's at the bar, and she like asks. She goes, "Gary, can I ask you something?" Or like, and Gary kind of cuts her off, and it's like, "Oh, have sex, yeah." And then they kind of go into that, and like Gary's like, "Hey, we should cuddle," and Daisy's like, "All right, I'll be waiting for that." Interesting comment about lots of chemistry. I'm not sure what Daisy was going to officially ask Gary.
Yeah.
Why did he cut her off?
Daisy was a couple sheets into the wind at that point too. So
yeah,
who knows? Because she kept saying, "Oh, I just want to go to bed," yada yada. But Kelsey ends up kind of cock blocking a little bit. I think both Gary and Daisy. So doesn't happen. Yet to be seen if it's happening between seasons. But if with any luck, we'll have the same conversation again.
I mean, Gary seems a little bit at sea. So. Yeah. But like, no, there have been pictures of the two of them like hanging out, like on Instagram and everything, but between seasons. So I have no idea. But man, like when he picked her up, and like carried her to her room.
I thought,
They were real close, man.
I know, I thought something was going to happen.
If Kelsey doesn't say it's time for bed, I don't know.
Yeah. We were close. So, we'll have to wait till next year, hopefully then. So Sean, let's get into the goodbyes a little bit. The goodbye, obviously the next morning, the place is a disaster. Captain Glenn's like, hey guys, you got to clean this up. And then people start filing out. I think Barnaby was the first one, which I don't know if I'll remember Barnaby, if I'm being honest.
Seems like a good guy. He's liked by the crew. What hardest part about leaving is saying hardest part about leaving is not living 6 feet from Daisy anymore.
Yeah.
So he was into her hard, but that didn't really get a whole lot of screen time. I know he's 23 or 24.
Yeah, I think he's 24.
I didn't think he was that young. I can never tell ages in this show.
Yeah, that's fair. Neither can I.
Will I remember Barnaby? Probably not.
Yeah.
Nothing you can do about that, but
I don't know if I'll remember Tom either. Maybe I will. We'll say.
I will.
Tom more than Barnaby, I think, but for different reasons. So we can go kind of through each of them, but obviously, Marco sounds like he's got a opportunity in LA. He's gonna be opening a restaurant, which I'm sure is probably already open.
Very cool.
Kelsey left, said, super yachting really isn't for her. So I doubt we'll see her back.
Yeah.
Scarlett. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Jen. She does a great "Bye, Gary" in like a very interesting accent. I'm not sure what she was going for, but
I mean, that's the story of Kelsey. I never knew what she was going for the entire time.
Yeah. Surprised, she seemed to have a good time in the boat, but
yeah.
Then again, she got no screen time, so
yeah. And then Scarlett basically said, "Hey, if I can tackle this, I can tackle anything."
Yeah, John. If you're Scarlett, I know she was kind of not into Gary towards the very end, but was it tough to like Gary? All of his focus the last night is just on Daisy.
Yeah, I think it kind of hit Gary. He's got one night with everybody, and I think Daisy long term is what he's most interested in.
Yeah.
So,
I was surprised. Like he didn't go for Scarlett at all.
No, and I think he got the hint. The one that Scarlett. Maybe the many that Scarlett dropped, I should say that. And it's so interesting because she's like, "Oh, I'm not about the drama." Most of the time when I hear people say that, it just means they are about the drama, but I really don't think Scarlett is. So, I'd be glad. I'd be glad if she was back again next year. I think it's probably a remote chance. I would too.
Yeah.
But, and then Ashley. So, Ashley was really moved by being lead Stu, and said she's got a lot of work to do and this and that. So, if she thought she had a good season, that's great. I know she kind of got dragged through the coals early to middle of the season. Probably not enough redemption to not be the villain of the season at the end of the day, but I think we're going to think of her a little bit more fondly, just based on how the last couple episodes went.
Yeah, she's good at her job, right?
Yeah.
She started off as a third Stu this year. Daisy's gonna be pretty happy with that, like how she did, especially towards the end.
Yeah, she kind of had a good arc, I guess. Other than kind of the whole Gary thing, which was most of the season, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then obviously, one thing, Sean, that kind of jumped out to me was Colin as he's leaving. He's speaking such high praise of Glenn. Had me thinking maybe Colin's gonna be back next year. There's a big part of me that thinks Gary's gonna be back and Daisy's gonna be back, but I have no idea. Like Colin, I don't know. He's got his own thing. Like he's got his own like YouTube channel and his boat and his boys. He's got a lot of things going for him, but it makes me think the way he said goodbye that he's gonna be back next year.
I wonder that'd be kind of uncharted territory because they never brought back the same 3 people 3 seasons in a row. Below Deck OG Belodeck, Eddie and Ben were in the first 2 seasons, but then Ben isn't on the third season until like kind of midway through after they fire Leon.
Yeah.
And that's just 2 people. And then, Kate and Ben are on like 3 seasons together. I worry that it would be not like too much of a good thing, or kind of the success of this show has been like each season's kind of its own thing. And I wonder if I'm trying to think of a good way to put this. At some point, that Sailing Yacht will kind of peak. Where
Yeah, maybe. But I also think that like we probably haven't had 3 people this strong on the same cast at the same time. And so, if you ask me right now, would I want to have Gary, Daisy, and Colin back again next year? I think the answer is yes.
I agree. This season was tremendous too, as was last season.
Yeah.
I worry, the Jersey Shore, for example, that cast was so good, but then they kept that cast together for too long.
Yeah.
And then by the end, like none of those people wanted to be on the show anymore. And like after like 3 seasons, it was kind of diminishing returns. John, no, Daisy, Gary, Colin back next season is a great idea. And Colin also doesn't demand too much screen time.
Right.
He's just a good guy to have around.
Yeah.
But
kind of levels Gary a little bit.
Sometimes it's good to change the dynamic a little bit. And because Glenn would be back too.
Right.
It's an interesting question. I'm glad it's not my job because, I trust Belodeck in their casting department, especially for Sailing Yacht. So,
well, hold on, only for Sailing Yacht. Pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not saying I don't want those 3 back next year, but I wonder if there'll be a little pause on with the producers as far as should we shuffle it up a little bit more?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Because you want to go out on top,
right? Yeah. I think Peyton and John Elway, Bronco quarterbacks. You know, Sean, some other things. So I guess Daisy, kind of said her goodbyes, had a final kind of heart to heart with Gary and said goodbye. And then, Gary stays on the boat. So he's pretty much living on that thing 24/7, it feels like. So
he's definitely back next season.
Yeah. So Sean, do you want to get into, who won and who lost the episode? Anything else about this?
I think we can. I think we covered it pretty well. It was basically a lot of just Gary and Daisy sexual tension and flirting.
Fair. Yeah.
So John, want me to go first or do you want to start?
I'll go first. So I don't think it's a cop out because I think this makes sense. I think who won is like the viewers won.
Okay.
This was a great season, man. It got kind of slow at some parts. Or I don't want to say slow, but I didn't love some of the drama between, like Ashley and Gabrielle and then Ashley and everybody. But it really kind of turned around once, Scarlett and Barnaby jumped in. And man, I think they kind of saved the season because halfway through it, I wasn't feeling it as much as I was hoping to. And glad it finished out on top. So I was just really happy.
Jen, I agree with you. I think to me, we'll go into this a little bit more next week, but I think when Gabriella left, the few episodes around that, it kind of dipped for me a little bit too.
Yeah.
Nothing against her. She seems like a great person, but the show kind of took on a different vibe, a little bit more serious, and the day off they had when Gabrielle's kind of fighting with everyone.
Yep.
That was kind of a wasted day off. That could have been that could have been more fun.
Could have been fun. Yeah.
And she kind of it kind of hurt the vibe of the show a little bit. And I think Scarlett and Barnaby, I don't know. They're good vibe people. We might not remember Barnaby or Scarlett, but